an extremely important day, not only in American history and world. It was the day the world changed. Now, it would strike me that it is incumbent upon every American president to pay serious tribute to this day, to pay tribute to the fallen, the thousands who died in that terrible event. With me now is a man who was in the Twin Towers when the plane struck, Greg Swenson from the Republican Overseas UK organisation. Welcome, Greg. Now, as we know, for reasons that best known to himself, Biden has chosen to say nothing or do nothing on this very special day. Let's have a look at what his predecessor, Donald Trump, has issued today. This video. Take it away, Donald.
No one who lived through the horror of the September 11th terrorist attacks can ever forget the agony and the anguish of that terrible day. It was a terrible day. The images of dark plumes of smoke billowing over lower Manhattan, the Pentagon, and a field of Pennsylvania, such a beautiful field, are seared into our minds forever. We will never forget. Today, on this solemn anniversary of those monstrous attacks, we remember the 2,977 precious souls who were savagely taken from us on that morning 22 years ago, leaving a void that can never be filled, No matter what happens, it can never be filled.
I love the way he repeats things. Leaving a void that can never be filled, terrible, terrible day. But he's right, and that was a very impressive tribute. Now, you, more than most Americans, would suggest that the president should mark this very special anniversary because you were in the damn Twin Towers when it happened, weren't you? Yeah. What do you think about Joe Biden doing nothing? As I understand it, he's just signed some sort of deal with Vietnam, and at the time where he should have been in the White House addressing the American people like Donald Trump did there, he's in the air in Alaska somewhere.
Yeah, the only reason, I mean, there's really no excuse for it. And let me just, for the record, I was not in the North Tower. I was across the street at 3 World Financial, just so I don't want to exaggerate my location.
I've heard your story. But you were pretty much, you know what hell befell Manhattan that day.
You couldn't be any closer to the North Tower than my location at 3 World Financial. And so we went outside after the first plane hit and watched the fire, waiting, thinking we were going to go back in the building, which is insane.
And then you had to stagger through the dust.
So when the second plane hit, we had to run up the West Side Highway, and so, but to the point about Biden, I mean, it just shows the disconnect, and it's funny when we make fun of him with the press conferences and tripping on the stairs and all that, but this is a really bad optic, and it just shows you. I really have little patience for people who insist that. Remember during the campaign in 2020, he's the empathetic president or candidate. He's got so much empathy. No, he does not. If he had any empathy, he'd be down at ground zero today in New York like Ron DeSantis was, or he'd make some proper tribute like President Trump did.
I just find it baffling. Why wouldn't he be there?
This
is anti-American.
It really is. But look at the way he behaved with the Gold Star families a few weeks ago. Look at the way he behaved in Maui. Always trying to relate it to his microwave kitchen fire, when he almost lost his cat. I mean, it's really outrageous. So I have, again, little patience for this whole empathy business when he absolutely buried that whole argument today.
We've decided today to, Mike Graham and I played it in jest a little earlier. We decided not to play it again today, and this was Joe Biden at the G20, rambling on about God knows what. It was another extreme senior moment. And his staff have obviously worked out a way of doing it. They just stepped in and said, that's the end of the press conference in mid-sentence.
KJP had to do, the press secretary really had to cut him off. I mean, give him the hook. It was like the Gong Show. I mean, it's really bad. And that brings, the real issue is, can they go on with this charade that he's going to be the candidate? He clearly is not. But the question is, do they hold out till next summer when he can change his mind, he can say he has a health issue, and then they can just basically nominate someone at the convention? I don't think he can hang on that long, not with any credibility at all.
I mean, the Democrats, I mean, in political circles in Washington, I mean, they're not idiots. They're players. They know how to play the game.
Right.
But I don't know what advice he's getting here, but why didn't they realise that today the president should address the American nation?
Yeah, for a president who's got a very tight inner circle that manages everything around him, you would think they would know better. But they're not necessarily the most patriotic people.
Yeah, that's
that's not. I mean, George Bush's best moment might have been, with the blowhorn down on at Ground Zero, the couple of days after 9/11 with the firemen. You have to have a patriotic bone in your body to really care about that. And that's not to suggest that every Democrat is not patriotic. And I'm sure Obama always did something eloquent because he was a very eloquent speaker. But that's not they don't wake up in the morning thinking about patriotism.
I would say also Obama, I would suggest he, in his way, he was a patriot, and he had a sense of occasion. I mean, he was a brilliant man. That's the point. He knew how to behave in public. He knew how to be the American president, and this would not have happened under his watch.
No, and because he's too smart for that.
Yes, exactly.
And some of them, look, I mean, after one of the police shootings, when these poor policemen were being ambushed, there was basically an execution of 2 officers in Texas. Obama's speech or eulogy was absolutely compelling, even though he wasn't really pro-police. He was somewhat divisive in the way he handled the race relations, but it doesn't mean he didn't honor those moments and do the right thing. And so this might be a low point, or one of the low points for the Biden administration. And again, I don't know how they can go on with this charade. I think their goal is to make it to next summer. Then he drops out, and then you've got the chance to run a younger candidate against potentially President Trump. Whereas if they pull him now, then that changes the whole dynamic. Yeah. I just don't know if they can.
They're lucky if they manage to. I mean, he's a stubborn old geezer, and he stuck his heels in, and he says he wants to run, and I think it'd be difficult.
He's let 7 million illegals into the country. That's more than
let's not start getting into the mistakes he's made. We could be here for years.
You carve off an hour for me.
But this story, just the last point really, I mean, it was trailed for days. You'd have thought that maybe they'd have thought, well, hang on a second, maybe we should do something. Let's get him off at Alaska to address the nation or something like
skip
that.
Hanoi. I mean, he is doing something from Alaska, but it's at 4 o'clock Eastern. It's by far the latest that any president has done this.
Oh, he is going to.
He is doing something. Yeah, they're going.
But he should be in the White House.
At least in theory, it's American territory. He's in America if he's in Alaska, but it's a long way from the East Coast where the media is and where it happened, which was in Washington, D.C.,
be in the White
Pennsylvania. Down the street from the Pentagon where a plane did hit. And, New York, Pennsylvania, Washington, that's where you should be.
I think it's an error for which President Biden will struggle to be forgiven.